Well, Senator Warren, thank you very much for making time for us. You're in Milwaukee, but as they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Absolutely.
Looks like you're going to enjoy a beer or a lager here.
That's right. I wanted to come to Broken Bat because I'd heard they have a not a horrible city lager.
Okay.
And so I had to give this a try.
All right.
Ah, sweet.
Good for the summertime.
You bet.
Well, let's talk about a lot of things coming up in this election in 2024. As you know, today marks 2 years since the Dobbs decision. Democrats see reproductive rights as a decisive issue in 2024. But why? I mean, it's largely become a state-by-state issue.
Oh, that's very dangerous thinking. So look at it this way. First, we had for half a century Roe versus Wade, and that protected the whole country. And then those justices came through, Republican nominees, swore until the world looked level that they weren't going to mess around with precedent. And the first opportunity they got to toss out Roe versus Wade when they got a majority was to do exactly that. And now what started to happen is with no federal protection, the states are everywhere. And we've got red states. Now 1 out of every 3 women lives in a state that is effectively blocking access to abortion, and all kinds of places in between. I know what you've gone through here in Wisconsin in the back and forth. But understand this, it's now all on the line in the presidential. If Donald Trump gets elected president, the Republicans have laid out the plans where he all by himself can get rid of abortion nationwide, not just in some states, nationwide, and there is nothing that the individual states can do about it.
You're talking about a national abortion ban.
I'm talking about a national abortion ban, and there are multiple ways to do that. To do that through the Comstock Act, to do that by declaring that mifepristone is going to be taken off the market. Lots of different ways to do it, but the part I want to make sure you understand is it's then national. And there's no protection here in Wisconsin or anywhere else.
Well, that's the reason why I asked, because it has moved to the states after the Dobbs decision. What changes if President Biden wins that would change what's happening in the states?
So if President Biden wins, he will continue to do exactly what he's doing right now. And that is, he has the Department of Defense protecting our active duty military who need access to abortion, the Veterans Administration protecting our veterans who need access, the Department of Justice litigating with the extremist groups, and the FDA making sure that medication abortion is still available. But the only way we get full protection is if Democrats take the House and the Senate. We already have the Senate. Senator Baldwin is up. If we can hang on to our majority in the Senate and take the House, we will make Roe versus Wade law of the land. And that will protect people in Wisconsin, in Massachusetts, in Alabama, in Idaho, all across this nation.
And you would need 60 votes to do that.
Well, we need 60 votes as long as people are still hanging on to the filibuster.
Okay.
I believe that if we get our majority in the Senate, we're going to set aside the filibuster to pass Roe versus Wade. I've said this before. I have no doubt that that will happen.
Let's talk about the economy. It has been a big issue. Some people say it's the most important issue in this election. Inflation is running high at about 3%, as you know right now. But in the Biden administration, we saw it at record highs. And prices day to day for people and their living expenses remain high. Do you think that is a result of Biden's policies, or what's not working that has so many people concerned about their bottom line?
You know, the way I look at this is there were a lot of factors coming out of COVID. We had supply chain kinks. We had problems with just getting a lot of raw materials, and we've had a problem with corporate price gouging. Corporations who looked around and said, oh, everyone's talking about inflation. This is an opportunity to raise my prices even more. And how do we know that happened? It's that they didn't just pass along the increased cost to themselves. They raised their prices way past that, and that's why corporate profits are at an all-time record. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? And this is where Joe Biden has been fighting the fight on behalf of working families to bring down their costs. So he's done it with healthcare, $35 insulin, a $2,000 cap on what people spend on prescription drugs, negotiating for prescription drugs. He's done it on education, canceling student loan debt for more than 5 million people. He's done it for everyday folks, getting rid of junk fees with banks, with airlines, with Ticketmaster, lots of different places, and he's going directly after the price gougers. Now, it's a slower process, but it's one that will be good for the economy overall. And here's a place I just want to say real quick, big contrast with Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump is out there saying to his, and these are his words, rich as hell donors, give me money, and what I'm going to do is lower your taxes. The same people who are doing price gouging, I'm going to lower your taxes even more, and I'm going to cut any environmental regulations. He's telling that to the oil companies even more. So real contrast here.
There's going to be a big debate Thursday night.
There is.
Do you think President Biden, this will be his last best chance to change the narrative in this race and potentially the outcome?
You know, what I want to see on Thursday night is Joe Biden being Joe Biden. The guy he's been ever since he first ran for public office, the guy from Scranton who really cares about working families, who wakes up every day and says, what can I do to help families that are just struggling to pull it together and want to build a stronger future for their children? I think the contrast between that and Donald Trump, who pretty openly says he's there for the billionaires and the billionaire corporations and the most extremist wing of his party. He's out there bragging about overturning Roe versus Wade. I think when the American people see that contrast, I think they're going to say, I want the guy with the good heart, and that's Joe Biden.
They're also going to see this contrast between the oldest president in office in American history up against a guy who potentially could be the oldest ever elected president with Donald Trump. Is age a fair metric in this race?
Look, voters can ask anything they want, but at least the way I look at this is you're asking the question, do you think he's going to be able to do the job for either one of them? And here's what I know. I talk to Joe Biden on a pretty regular basis. I work with Joe Biden. He's sharp, he's on it, he's in there fighting the fight for families who need somebody on their side. So I watch him do the job, and that gives me a lot of confidence he's going to keep doing the job.
Let me ask you one final question on immigration. We just heard some new things out of the Biden administration. Do you think the asylum ban is too little, too late?
You know, I look at it this way. The president, on his very first day in office, when Joe Biden was sworn in, asked Congress to do a comprehensive immigration plan. Back and forth, Republicans blocked us and blocked us and blocked us. And then you may remember last fall, the Republicans said, we're not going forward on this supplemental bill to get money to Ukraine until we are able to negotiate for more border security. And negotiate, and in March, 6 months of negotiations, Democrats and Republicans had finally cut a deal. 2 days before we're supposed to vote in Congress, Donald Trump says no, tells the Republicans to vote against it because he wants chaos at the border. He wants there to be trouble. He wants as much division in this country over immigration as humanly possible. Why? Because he thinks it will help Donald Trump.
But Republicans have said they just didn't see it as a good bill. It wasn't just what he said. They didn't see it as good. But back to the asylum.
I just want to say, then they're talking out of both sides of their mouth because these are the people who negotiated and who stood up in public and said it was a great bill right up until Donald Trump held the sock puppet up and said it's not.
On the asylum issue, too little, too late?
You know, I see it as Joe Biden is using the tools available to him. It's not the way I would have done it, but that's not the point. He's using the tools that are available. Right now, because Congress has not stepped up, that means that there's no money, for example, for asylum for the judges, the immigration judges that you need to be able to process people. quickly through this system. I do want to say, though, that what he did last week when he said we're not going to put spouses of American citizens at risk, that was very Joe Biden, because it's very much from the heart and about families. I talk to people whose children leave in the morning and they're not sure if their daddy is still going to be there when they come home in the evening because he doesn't have immigration protection. And for Joe Biden to say, for families, I want to help them stay together. If you're married to an American citizen and have been for a long time, then I want to put you on a path to citizenship. I think that's a good thing to do.
If I could just follow up quickly on that, because you talked about the tools in the toolbox. He had executive powers, and on the first day in office, he used some of those to roll back what President Trump had done. Did he use enough executive powers to address the border issue?
Look, he has said the ideal way to do this is through Congress. And the Republicans kept saying, we want to negotiate, and then Lucy in the football, pull it back at the last minute. We want to negotiate, then Lucy in the football, pull it back again. And I think that's been a real problem here on immigration. Donald Trump made it clear when he told the Republicans to tank the negotiated deal that Republicans had stood up and said was a good deal. When he said tank that deal, he wanted to do that because it would help Donald Trump at the ballot box, or at least so he thought, rather than what was good for the United States of America. I give Joe Biden credit. He's always trying to put the United States first, not himself.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.